Hey everyone, my name is Isaiah and I'm so happy to introduce to you a new video in our series Continuing Conversations. Continuing Conversations is like a mini series we do after each webinar to give our guests a chance to expand on a topic and give you, the viewer, more insight so that you can continue the conversation in your community. Today, Matt is talking with Cherie Kraft, CEO of Smart from the Start, about parent success centers and public-private partnerships. Really hope you guys enjoy.
Okay. Cherie, great to see you. Great to be with you again.
Great to see you, Matt.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for being on the webinar with us, and thanks for coming back to have this continuing conversation with us. It's been looking forward to this.
As have I. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So here's what I thought we could do. You talked a little bit about family success centers on the webinar, and I want to dive a little bit deeper into that. And I want to talk a little bit about the importance of family success centers being in and of the communities they serve. And I want to talk a little bit about the importance of building public-private partnerships as well. So
Sure.
if you don't mind, let's get into that. And maybe the first question I'd ask, if you were at a party or a networking event and you're meeting somebody for the first time, how do you define what a family success center is?
Well, I will tell you that our Family Success Center is a port in a storm and a beacon for the families in our community. It is a place where they feel at home, where whatever their needs are, they know that when they walk across our threshold, that we are going to do everything we can, everything in our power to meet those needs. And it's a place really that we consider kind of like a cocoon for our families, where they come with their entire family, children, adults, grandparents are around, Uncle Jim is around, and they're able to engage in a number of programs, services, and supports that prepare them not only, to stabilize in the midst of a crisis, but to thrive in their community and in our society. And family success centers, people say, what do you do? We say whatever it takes. And that's what the Family Success Center is in our communities.
Could you add to that with maybe one or two examples of some of just the real concrete needs that your centers meet?
Absolutely. So our Family Success Centers take pride in the fact that they are community and family driven, so that our programs, services, and supports are all created, implemented, facilitated, and evaluated by teams that include our families shoulder to shoulder. And so the programs and services that we offer are those that directly meet the needs that have been identified by the families in the community. To that end, we provide trauma-informed, strength-based, and culturally respectful crisis intervention and family stabilization services, access to educational opportunities in the Success Center for everyone in your family. Preschool, school age to adult education opportunities are there. We provide access to highly qualified clinicians and access to physical and mental health wellness programming and services. We provide access to folks for financial literacy and economic development classes, information, and support. We also have professional development and career enrichment programs. So folks can come in and be certified in green cleaning or in food handlers licenses or a variety of different professional development. And we also do career placement. So folks can have access to opportunities that will provide them with economic self-sufficiency. And then finally, and in many ways, most importantly, we provide folks with access to leadership, training, and opportunities and advocacy, because we realize that many of the systems and services that our families need and access are still mired in racial bias and systemic racism. And we want our folks to know how to speak up for themselves, their family, and their communities, and to navigate those systems.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And, what I hear in all of that is, here's a community-based organization that recognizes the inherent strengths of all families, and then just opening up opportunities for people to be able to express, what they're fully capable of. And so I think it's great. I'd like to ask another question of, you talked a lot about there about, kind of being engaged with individuals and families in your community, but could you just say a few words about why it's so important that these kinds of community-based organizations really are, in and of the community where they serve?
Absolutely. I mean, I think first and foremost, I'm a kid who grew up in low income housing. I'm a kid who grew up in communities that had incredible strengths and resiliencies, but realized that many of the programs and services that were set up to help us to mitigate some of the challenges in the community were created somewhere else by someone else who didn't understand the strengths and challenges that we faced. And many times we were accused of being non-compliant, of being lazy, of disinterested in changing our circumstances because we didn't engage in programs and services that we felt were not created for us and didn't meet our needs. So by making sure that our programs are organically grassroots from the ground, that our experts, first and foremost, are our families and our community stakeholders, we avoid those issues. We are able to provide families and communities with exactly what they need, that our staff reflect the diversity of the communities that we serve. We hire from our communities, which gives us a level of street credibility, so to speak, that other agencies and organizations may not have. And finally, we recognize that folks have power. They just have never been encouraged to find their voices and use it. And when we are able to, introduce folks to their strengths for their first time and give them the responsibility of creating programs and services to break cycles in their communities, not only do they step up to the plate, but they create programs and services that are uniquely impactful and effective. And that's what the Family Success Centers have been able to do very, very well.
Yeah, I mean, what that makes me think of is it's a little bit of a shift in perspective of an organization saying, "Here's what I have to offer to help," and instead saying, "What do you need, and can I offer something along those lines to help?" And
Absolutely.
it's a
Absolutely.
it sounds subtle in saying it, but it's massively transformative in practice. So, yeah, that's great. So, okay, so you as a leader of your community-based organization, Smart from the Start, you've done an incredible job of developing this relationship and partnership, this public-private partnership with DC's Child Welfare Agency. And so, love to, just, give as much value to our listening audience about how that partnership has developed and what's been most important in terms of really strengthening that partnership. Because what's happened with that is that DC has invested in 10 family success centers, and that's a big deal and creates opportunity in other places to learn from. So, yeah, what has really made that partnership successful from your point of view?
So I think first and foremost, all relationships must have as a foundation mutual trust and respect. And that goes for relationships between agencies or people or communities and so forth. And what I value most in our relationship with CFSA and DC is that they truly respect what we do as an organization. They truly honor what we bring to the table. We may not have any money, but we have a level of expertise that they recognize their folks may not have. And that respect is the same respect in turn that we give to our families. We recognize that some of our families have been through hell, as due to no fault of their own, and they are still getting up and thriving each day. They're taking care of their kids. They're trying to make a better way. And I have a great deal of respect for that. And in turn, that same way that we respect those families and what they've been through and what they've learned in the process, agencies have to have that kind of respect in order to build strong relationships with community-based organizations. And that trust It is all about integrity. It's about doing what you say you're going to do in the context of that relationship, and trusting your partner to do the same. With our families, I mean, if I say I am going to do something, or we promise a service or a program, you daggone well better do it. And that's the same thing. This is how trust is built. And when you have trust and you have mutual respect, that is how you blossom really effective working relationships. And we have had that kind of relationship with CFSA in DC, and it has been just such a successful endeavor on the ground, and our families will tell you that.
Hmm. So I might ask you to give an example of what families
Sure.
would say. So that would be great to hear. And then maybe before that, is there like a for example, something that you've seen CFSA, the Child and Family Services Agency, do? Something that like, wow, that's integrity or that's trust building, like something specific that you've
Yes,
seen?
so both. So in terms of our families, I mean, so on the webinar that we did, you saw Preston, he was there, and what he said was absolutely true. That this program, this organization, when you walk into the doors, whatever it is you need, we do everything we can to provide it. And that's what they'll tell you. They will tell you, they may name me and say Ma Cherie, but maybe not. They will say that Smart from the Start is there for your family no matter what it is you're going through. If you come through the doors and you need a winter coat, we will get you one. If you need help with your rent, we will help you pay that. If your lights are being shut off, we will work that out for you. If you need a job, we will help you with your resume, and we will refer you to as many employers as it takes until you get one. If you feel sad, we will connect you with a service or service provider or a clinician that looks like you and understands your plight. If you feel like you've been wronged somewhere in the court system or in the school system, you will have an advocate who will fight for you. And that's what Family Success Centers are about. They will tell you that the Success Center will wrap you in that cocoon until you are ready to fly on your own. And those are the things that we do for our community, not just because that's our mandate, but because we believe that once we invest in individuals, in children, in families in our community, then we begin to create communities that can stand on their own. I mean, my job is to do myself out of a job eventually. And I believe that our sustainability plan, it's our parents, it's our families, it's our children.
And
so that's what they'll tell you. And then in
okay.
terms of an example, for CFSA is, when we were first awarded this opportunity to launch our Family Success Center, it was like the December before COVID hit. And when COVID hit, we kind of all were a little worried about what was going to happen in terms of, the next steps with our Success Center. And, before we had a chance to even raise those concerns, Mayor Bowser and Director Donald swooped in and said, we made a promise to this community. And in the midst of this crisis, the last thing we are going to do is postpone or pause the funding that we promised your community for this Success Center. We are going to deliver it all at once with the trust that you will be able to execute during this pandemic and the autonomy you need to move the way you need to move in the community to make sure that children and families have what they need. And it just was really astounding to me, the level of efficiency that they were able to deliver on that promise. And that is integrity.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a great example. I mean, there's lots of reasons why, they could have said, well, let's postpone this, or, maybe we'll come back to this, or.
The whole thing is radical. The whole idea is radical. It's unprecedented that, a government entity that, traditionally child welfare and child protective services is a very closed kind of operation, to not only to open up to the community, but to make such a significant financial investment in grassroots organizations like ours is unprecedented, with the level of autonomy and partnership that we're given. I've been doing this work, Matt. I know I look really young, but I've been doing this work for, over 25 years, and I've never seen anything like it.
Well, you don't look like you've been doing it for 25 years, that's for sure. So, And I think you're right, and I think it's something that we all should be learning from, because I think the example that you're setting is a couple things. One, I think that you know, what I'm learning anyway as a child welfare leader, as somebody that's in child welfare, is that the deeper you go into sort of the root cause issues of why are we involved in the lives of so many families, are these core, fundamental, concrete needs-based issues that you're talking about, that your organization is working to support families. I think that's fundamental. And then I think that where the work that you all do happens and who does it is really, really important. That's why I thought it was so interesting to kind of dive back into this idea of your organization being in the community, of the community. The people that work for your organization are from the community. That's trust building. That's reflective, kind of from the ground up type approach that I really think is important as we go forward, thinking about how do we do family strengthening work and build a family well-being approach and prevent child welfare entries, foster care entries. This is one way that we have to, I think, go forward. And so I love hearing kind of how this is playing out in DC. And then I think the other thing that stands out to me about why I wanted to have this follow-up conversation with you is that there's this whole infrastructure of family success centers, family resource centers around the country. And I think it's just it's a really big untapped opportunity that I think we have as a country to say, we're going to invest in families in a way that is mindful and respectful of the families, and really focused on strengthening and preventing foster care entries. And so
absolutely,
that's part of why I wanted to dive back in. And I just see this as an opportunity for more of us that are in child welfare to just learn about what you all are doing. So
yeah, and I would also just say this. When families are in trouble, they need somewhere to go in order to have the kind of support they need that will keep them out of the system. If there is a problem at school, if there is not enough food at home, if there are challenges getting on Zoom with your child during a pandemic, if you are feeling depressed or stressed, and you have somewhere within walking distance in your community where you go, where you feel safe, where you see folks who look like you and who have, experienced similar challenges, and you can lay those burdens down, that is how we keep our kids and families out of the system. We provide them with the kind of support that they need so that it doesn't get to, to the point where protective services have to be called and children are removed. The other thing is our partnership with CFSA is such that referring agencies, even those of us who are mandated reporters, realize that there are different tiers of challenges that families are facing, and that many challenges can be resolved by referring to an agency in the community that families trust. And if we're able to be involved with families and stay involved with families, then that really does have an impact on how many families have to be involved with the system.
Yeah. I couldn't say it any better. So I'll say, Cherie, thank you for having this conversation and diving back in with me. And I think it's safe to say that you are a great example of what it means to be relentless for families, and keep up the great work. And it's an inspiration to
Thank you
all of
so
us.
much. I appreciate you having me. And listen, the work that you folks are doing is so impactful. I am really proud and humbled to be partnering with you. So thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you.